Passion according to G.H. Since what I was seeing predated humanity, no, there was no salt in those eyes. I was sure that the roach's eyes were saltless. For salt I had always been ready. Salt was the transcendence that I used to experience a taste and to flee what I was calling nothing. For salt I was ready. For salt I had built my entire self. But what my mouth wouldn't know how to understand was the saltless. What all of me didn't know was the neutral. And the neutral was a life that I used to call the nothing. The neutral was the hell. The sun had moved a bit and stuck itself to my back. Also in the sunlight, the roach was split in two. I can't do anything for you, roach. I don't want to do anything for you. Because it was no longer about doing something. The neutral gaze of the roach was telling me it wasn't about that. And I knew it. Only I couldn't bear just sitting there and being. And so I wanted to do. Doing would be transcending. Transcending is an exit. But the moment had come for it no longer to be about that, since the roach didn't know about hope or pity. If it weren't imprisoned and were larger than I, with neutral busy pleasure it would kill me, just as the violent neutral of its life was allowing me, because I was not imprisoned and was larger, to kill it. That was the kind of tranquil neutral ferocity of the desert where we were. And its eyes were saltless, not salty as I would have wanted. Salt would be the feeling and the word and the taste. I knew that the neutral of the roach has the same lack of taste as its white matter. Seated, I was consisting. Seated, consisting, I was realizing that if I didn't call things salty or sweet, sad or happy or painful, even with in-between shades of greater subtlety, that only then would I no longer be transcending and remain in the thing itself. That thing whose name I do not know was that thing that, looking at the roach, I was now starting to call without a name. Contact with that thing without qualities or attributes was disgusting to me. A living thing with no name or taste or smell was repugnant. Insipidity. The taste now was no more than a tartness, my own tartness. For a moment then I felt a kind of quaking happiness all over my body, a horrible happy unease in which my legs seemed to vanish, as always when the roots of my unknown identity were touched. At least I had already entered the roach's nature to the point that I no longer wanted to do anything for it. I was freeing myself from my mortality, and that was a catastrophe without crash and without tragedy. Morality. Would it be simplistic to think the moral problem with regard to others consists in behaving as one ought to, and the moral problem with regards to oneself is managing to feel what one ought to? Am I moral to the extent that I do what I should and feel as I should? All of a sudden, the moral question seemed to me not only overwhelming but extremely petty. The moral problem, in order for us to adjust to it, should be at once less demanding and greater, since as an ideal it is both small and unattainable. Small if one attains it, unattainable because it cannot even be attained. The scandal still was necessary, but woe to him through whom the scandal comes. Was it in the New Testament that it was said, the solution has to be secret? The solution had to be secret. The ethics of the moral is keeping it secret. Freedom is a secret. Though I know that, even in secret, freedom doesn't take care of guilt. But one must be greater than guilt. The tiny divine part of me is greater than my human guilt. The God is greater than my essential guilt, so I prefer the God to my guilt. Not to excuse myself and to flee, but because guilt diminishes me. I no longer wanted to do anything for the roach. I was freeing myself from my morality, though that gave me fear, curiosity, and fascination, and much fear. I'm not going to do anything for you. I too creep along the ground. I'm not going to do anything for you because I no longer know the meaning of love as I used to think I did. Also, what I thought about love, that too I'm bidding farewell. I barely know what it is anymore. I don't remember. Maybe I'll find another name, much crueler initially, and much more itself, or maybe I won't. Is love when you don't give a name to the identity of things? But now I know something horrible. I know what it is to need. And it's a new need on a level that I can only call neutral and terrible. It's a need without any pity on my need and without pity on the roach's need. I was seated, calm, sweating, exactly as now, and I see that there was something more serious and more inevitable and more nucleus than everything I used to call by names. I who call love my hope for love. But now it's in this neutral present of nature and of the roach and of the living sleep of my body that I wanted to know love. And I want to know if hope was a contemporization with the impossible, or if it was a way of delaying what's possible now and which I only don't have out of fear. I want the present time that has no promise, that is being. This is the core of what I want and fear. This is the nucleus that I never wanted. The roach was touching all of me with its black, faceted, shiny, and neutral gaze. And now I was starting to let it touch me. In truth, I had fought all my life against a profound desire to let myself be touched, and I had fought because I couldn't allow myself the death of what I called my goodness, the death of human goodness, but now I no longer wanted to fight it. There had to be a goodness so other that it wouldn't resemble goodness. I no longer wanted to fight. With disgust, with despair, with courage, I was giving in. It was too late, and now I wanted. Was it only in that instant that I was wanting? No, or else I would have left the room long before, simply would barely have seen the roach. How often before had roaches happened to me, and I had gone another way. I was giving in, but with fear and shattering. I thought that if the telephone rang, I would have to answer and would still be saved. But, as if remembering an extinct world, I remembered that I'd taken the phone off the hook. If not for that, it would ring. I would flee the room to answer it, and never again, oh, never again would return. I remembered you. When I kissed your man face slowly, slowly kissed it, and when the time came to kiss your eyes, I remembered that then I had tasted the salt in my mouth, and that the salt of tears in your eyes was my love for you. But what bound me most of all in a fright of love had been in the depths of the salt, your saltless and innocent and childish substance. With my kiss, your deepest insipid life was given to me, and kissing your face was a saltless and busy patient work of love. It was woman weaving a man, just as you had woven me, neutral crafting of life. Now it seems we're getting somewhere. Peace.